All right, we are in the parking lot of our local zoo. Yes, that is kind of random, but I have been wanting to do another video and I've tried a couple times and I'm just overthinking it too much. So we're gonna be casual at your encouragement.
Yep.
We're just gonna be casual. We're just gonna do our thing. We like to get out of the house like once a day, and it's Saturday and we didn't know what to do, so we're like, let's go to the zoo.
Let's do it.
I think this is a small zoo. I don't think it's gonna be like the most exciting zoo necessarily, but
No.
there's
But there's
wolves,
animals.
there's tigers,
There's
cougars. Where we live, there's a lot of cougars just roaming around, not even just
Yeah.
in zoos, but that's what it comes with living in Washington. So we're gonna go to the zoo, and then maybe later in this video we'll talk about some books, what I've been reading in 2026 so far.
You will. You'll hear it.
Yeah, I will talk about books. What about you? You've been reading books.
I've read The Hobbit.
Yeah, maybe he will get on and give you his reading updates about The Hobbit.
No.
Yes, I actually think I'm
no.
gonna make you do that now. You're gonna talk about The Hobbit. But that's gonna be this video. We'll see what happens with it, where it goes, what becomes of it. Maybe we'll watch the new Emily Henry book adaptation to movie, People We Meet on Vacation. I want to do that tonight. Eat some
Let's
salad.
do it.
We're just trying to be chill and casual and not overthink things today. That's the theme of this video, not overthinking the video. So let's go to the zoo. All right, we are back home from our little adventure to the zoo. It was really cute. It's a small zoo, but it was fun for a little afternoon, just get out of the house type thing. The cats, all the big cats were very, very cute, and it's fun because they just act like little cats, like Pedro. But I wanted to start off by talking about what I've read so far in 2026. As I said, I believe in my 2025 wrap-up, that my goal for 2026 is to read 40 books. I only read 25 last year, so it seems like a big jump, but some of my other goals for 2026 are about like scrolling less, having more things that don't have to do with any type of screen. And so I do feel like if I stick to that, my reading will go up, because in previous years I've been able to read over 40 books when I am not scrolling as much and doing all those things. So I do feel like I can accomplish it, and right now I've already read 2 books, so let's talk about those pretty quick. The first one was One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and I gave this a 3.75 stars on Storygraph. I started this last year and put it down for a while, and then I tried to finish it before the end of 2025, and I ended up finishing it on New Year's Day. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but it kind of uses Slavic folklore to do so, and it's set in modern day New York City. It was good. There's a section in the middle that gets a little bit slow, and so the 2 times that I've read it, I put it down both times at that section. I finally did finish it, obviously, this time around, and by the end I was enjoying it again. I think the characters are really fun and interesting, and who you think is going to be Romeo and Juliet isn't really Romeo and Juliet, so it's fun. If you're a fan of Olivia Blake, definitely check it out and pick it up. If you like Romeo and Juliet retellings or other kind of folklore retellings, again, I would try it. The other book that I read was Found Time, and it was actually a ARC early reader copy from 831 Stories, which I got through NetGalley, so thank you for that. That was my first ARC, so that's super cool, and it'll probably always have a little special place in my heart because of that. Found Time is a story that starts in the 90s. It's a short little romance novella, and it starts in the 90s at a Jeff Buckley concert, and then you flash forward to like 20 or 30 years later, and the couple, they met at the Jeff Buckley concert, and then they had kind of a whirlwind week together, and then they separated for a long time, and now they have reconnected. And so you're following them as they reconnect after years of broken relationships. They've had kids, so much stuff has gone on, they've moved on in their careers, and you just kind of see what would happen if someone that you had like a quick connection with, someone that you thought about, for years and years, finally comes back into your life, and it's not a what if anymore, it's they're present and they're back. What it was is, I feel like it's the perfect thing when you want to read one thing and was sitting in a cozy afternoon, like it's raining outside, you got your cup of coffee, like it's that type of book for that type of setting. And it wasn't necessarily like the most life-changing or greatest book that I've read, but considering, like, putting it in the context of just like an easy escapism kind of moment, it was really good. I gave it a 3.5, and it kind of felt fanfiction-y, but not in a bad way. It felt like the kind of scenario that you dream up for yourself when you're trying to fall asleep, like, and you can't fall asleep, like, you put yourself in. It's kind of got that vibe. So it was fun, and I think it was able to kind of cover some complexity in such a short amount of time, and while still remaining a fun escapist kind of romance, it still was able to delve into some interesting things and all of that. So I recommend it. I'm excited to check out more from 831 Stories, because their kind of concept is they publish short romance novellas, and I want to read more from them. There's a writer that I follow on Instagram that just recently published with them, so I definitely want to check more out. So thank you again to them for allowing me to read that arc and through NetGalley, and hopefully this year I get to review some more arcs through NetGalley. I actually have one right now that I'm really excited about. It's called Yesteryear, and it's kind of like a thriller, contemporary fiction kind of book about tradwives. And I feel like it'll be really interesting. Like, it kind of seems like it's based around ballerina farms and that whole kind of thing. So hopefully I'll get to that soon. But what I am currently reading is Morning Star. Yes, I finally picked it up. I feel like in 3 of the videos that I made earlier in 2025, I said I was going to pick up Morning Star, and then I never did. But here I am about halfway through. I can't say too much because I don't want to get into spoilers. Maybe I'll do like a spoiler section in a second. But this is continuing the first arc kind of trilogy in the Red Rising series, and it concludes it. All I'm going to say that might be spoilers, but not really, is Severo was really annoying for most of this book. And now he's nice. We're good again. And I feel bad for Darrow. But again, my thing with the Red Rising series, and maybe I'll do like a recap of it once I finish like the whole series, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, but it's so fast and so much stuff is going on that I wish that we could slow down and like just have, I like Darrow's inner monologue, so just like exploring that a little bit, like taking more time to think, because every other chapter something big is happening, and I just want to I just want to breathe for a second, and I just want the characters to get the chance to breathe for a second. Again, it's the showing versus telling, and most of the time I feel like I'm being told what's happening and it's not being shown to me. I don't think it's bad, but it's just such a breakneck pace. And I have heard that in the next 4, or it's 3 are out right now, and then Red God comes out this year, but I've heard in the next arc that flashes forward like 10 or 20 years or something like that, it slows down, at least in the first one of those books. So when I get to those, hopefully I'll have a different experience with that. But again, none of this, I still am super enjoying Red Rising, and I think what is a negative for me could be a real big positive for some. So that's where I'm at with this year's reading. I've technically read 2 books. I'm on a 3rd. I'm hoping that if I finish this, I could maybe get another 2 books in this month. That would be a little bit audacious of me, but I'm trying to read 30 minutes every day, kind of just as a habit tracker. I already do the Story Graphs January Pages Challenge, where you just have to record pages every day. So adding a kind of 30-minute element to that is something that I got a tip from my counselor, who I've been seeing for a little bit, about some anxiety and sleep stuff. She kind of, in the new year, we just talked about habits and different things like that. And so I added, per her advice, I added the 30 minutes onto that to show myself that like I can accomplish goals and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole, I could, if you're interested in me talking about some of that stuff, I would be happy to, and you can leave a comment down below. But also comment down below what you're starting to read in the new year, by the way. Maybe if you have a reading goal that you're excited about, or if there's been some books that you've already read this year or ones that you're hoping to get to. Maybe later in this video, we'll talk about my 2026 TBR, stuff like that. So for right now, I think I'm either going to work on my reading journal for a little bit or read. I don't know which right now. You'll see after this clip, you'll see what I end up doing. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me so far today. I hope you enjoyed the clips of the zoo animals because they were really cute. But yeah. Terrible angle, but I wanted to talk about The People We Meet on Vacation movie really quick. Again, I'm a huge M. Hen fan, and I will say I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I think Emily Bader as Poppy was a perfect choice. She has so much charisma, and I would love to see her in a bunch more movies. I watched a little bit of My Lady Jane when it came out, which is kind of how she got popular. And she's just great. She's super, super fun, and she fits Poppy's personality perfectly. And yeah, I think the movie was fun. It was shot really well. They did a good job of handling like the back and forth between the summers. I think the pacing was a little slow at times. And I'm gonna say, I was not like convinced by Tom Blythe in this. Maybe I feel like that's gonna be a very controversial opinion as the thoughts about this movie come out. But I don't know, something about Tom Blythe, like it felt like he was acting in the same way as he did when he played President Snow or Coriolanus Snow in the Hunger Games prequel, which it wasn't bad, but like I don't know, there just wasn't anything to separate those two in my mind when it comes to his acting, so that was kind of weird for him to be doing that but playing Alex. But it was really funny, it was really cute. I think they did a great job of adapting it. I am so excited for all the other M. Hen adaptations to come out. I hope that they all actually do come out. I will definitely be a little bit more on the edge of my seat for Beach Read and Happy Place because those are my favorites, and so I really want those to be adapted well, especially Happy Place, like and because that one might be a TV series, I don't really know, but I definitely recommend it. I think it's fun, I think it's a good time, and again, we scarcely get great rom-coms anymore, so it's always nice to have a good one that's not corny or badly written. It's just a good fun time. It looks great, and we have good actors. So that's my review of People We Meet on Vacation. I think we're just gonna read and chill for the rest of the night, and then maybe I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good night. All right, it is the next day, but I wanted to talk about my 2026 TBR. I know a lot of people in the last few years have been doing like it kind of started with 2020, so like 20 books for 2020, 21 for 2021, 22 for 2022, and so on and so forth. And I have done that. I did 25 books for 2025, and I have just decided that that is a lot of books, and if I actually want to even get close to
completing a yearly TBR, it needs to be a little bit smaller. So instead, I was going to do 10, but then I thought, why don't we do 6 books for 2026? And these are books that are already on my physical TBR. Either I just got them or they've been there. And I actually do really want to get to them this year, and I only made it 6 so that I would actually read them. So let's talk about them pretty quick. The first is Crying in H-Bar by Michelle Zauner. She is the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast, and I believe Japanese Breakfast is actually just her. But this has been going around for many years. It was published in like 2021, 2022. I don't know. I feel like early 2020s it's been popular. 2021, yeah, and this is the UK cover if you don't recognize it. It's typically red with a bowl of noodles on the front, but I really liked this cover, and so I bought it from a company that used to import books. I think the best way to get books from the UK now is Blackwell's, but there was another site several years ago that was up, and I can't remember the name of it, but I bought a bunch of books from them. So I really want to read this. This is her memoir, and it kind of explores her relationship with her mom. I believe her mom has passed away, and so it kind of talks about the grief and aftermath of that, of language differences, of growing up Korean in America and being Korean American, all of those things, and it's supposed to be incredible. So many people that I know have given this a 5 stars. So it's the year that I finally get around to this, because I think I've literally had this since 2021 or 2022. The next book is Us Against You by Frederick Bachman, which is the second in the Beartown series. I read Beartown, I think, in 2024, so it's been a couple years. And as we've talked about on this channel before, I think I need to read series all back to back to back, or else I don't get to them. I want to read this, and then I will probably pick up the winners and read it right after that. But this is just a continue of the Beartown series. The Beartown series, if you don't know what it is it's about a small town in Sweden who the town, like everything that's going on in the town revolves around the local hockey team. And so you meet several different characters, and you see how this one incident that happens to or with a member of the hockey team, and how that affects literally the economy of the city, the people of the city. So many people get impacted. It's like a drop of water in a lake, and how it affects everyone. And this is a continuation of that story. I won't read the back to spoil, but it's really good. I read Anxious People by Frederick Bachman last year and enjoyed it, and I want to get back into his writing, and I feel like building on these characters is going to be super great, and I'm excited to read this, and hopefully the winners too. Next, some people are going to see this and they're going to be shocked, but it's Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, the second book in the Six of Crows duology. Yes, I read Six of Crows several years back. I read the beginning of the Grishaverse, which is the Shadow and Bone trilogy. The Shadow and Bone trilogy. I wanted to watch the show on Netflix, so I read all of Shadow and Bone, and then I read Six of Crows and loved it, and it was so much better than the Shadow and Bone trilogy. And then I never read Crooked Kingdom. So we are going to finally read Crooked Kingdom this year. I want to read it. Everyone loves this series. Six of Crows is about kind of a heist and all the people that come together to be a part of it, if you don't know. And it's a fantasy novel. It's got, the Grishaverse is such a cool fantasy world, by the way. It's super, super interesting. And so this is the continuation of it. If you're sensing a theme, there's 2 series that I really need to finish, and that is the Beartown trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. So yeah, I'm gonna get to this. I'll probably, if I'm being honest, have to reread Six of Crows before I read this. The next one is Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. This was a really popular book last year. It's set in the fall of 2000, and it is about 2 people that meet, Joe and Percy. And Joe is a songwriter, and Percy is also a huge music lover. She just isn't a artist of any sort. So they kind of meet and they become this perfect duo for each other. And I've heard that it explores their relationship throughout the years, and it's got a lot of great 2000s music references. Hopefully that I can get enough of them. But this is also being made into a movie with, I believe, Drew Starkey and Kaylee Spaney. It was supposed to be Austin Butler and Saoirse Ronan. I really want to see this movie when it comes out. I know people tend to get really excited for this, I think, on YouTube, and then it kind of disappoints them. But I feel like I could be the perfect demographic for this book, and it's shorter. So if it's a little boring, it's easier to get through. But I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really good. And this is actually also going to be on my January TBR. I think I'm going to pick it up after I finish Morning Star, which I'm reading right now. So yeah, this one we'll hopefully get to really quickly. Next is The Will of the Many. I have the new hardback. I started reading this when it was kind of going around the first time when it got popular, before Strength of the Few came out. Like, this was way when the first book got released. And I was reading on my Kindle and I was enjoying it. It's a little complicated and I kept wanting to reference the map, and I think there's like a graph at the, or not a graph, but there's a visual thing that kind of explains how the will system works. How the magic system works in this. And I kept trying to go back and forth between that and the book, and it was too annoying on the Kindle. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna DNF this and read it again when I can have a physical copy. So now that Strength of the Few is out, I have Strength of the Few back there as well, but it's time for me to get to the Hierarchy trilogy. This is about a student named Vic. It's Roman inspired, and he is from the lowest caste of society, and he infiltrates this school where he goes up. Reminds me of Red Rising. Fantasy and sci-fi writing truly prove that the Roman Empire is on the forefront of men's minds, because why are there so many Roman-inspired sci-fi and fantasy books? There's literally so many. I'm explaining this and I feel like I'm explaining Red Rising. I know it's different, and I'm not saying that as like a dig or anything, but I do feel like I'm trying to explain Red Rising. But I'm excited. I feel like this is gonna be good. She's a little chunky. But when I started it, it was really good. Basically, the magic system in this is that magic is based on how much will you have, and the lower classes of people, give their will to the upper classes. So you go up in class depending on how much will you are taking from other people. So that's The Will of the Many. Again, if you're on YouTube, if you're on BookTube, you've seen this so many places, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. When I actually go through and read these books, I'll talk about them a lot more in depth. And the final book on my my 6 for 2026 is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I have her other book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I've tried to pick it up a couple times. It hasn't hit. I do think that when I read it at the right time, it will hit. But in the meanwhile, I want to try Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. This is about 3 women who are vampires, and they're all kind of in different eras. One is in 1532, the other is in 1827, and the final is in 2019. And so they, I believe, have a little bit of crossover. They're vampires, so vampires tend to live forever. Who knows what V.E. Schwab's lore on vampires is going to be. But I've heard it's incredibly written, very lyrical. The story is very interesting. I know some people find it boring, but I think that if it's well written, I'm gonna like it. So that is the final book that I have on my 6 for 2026. If you've read any of these, tell me which one you think. Try that again. If you have read any of these, please tell me if you like them, if you didn't like them, which one I should read first. Let me know if any of these are on your 2026 TBR. The last thing I do want to show you in this video is my reading journal. So we're not done here quite yet, whether that's today or tomorrow when we get this finished up. But yeah, let's see where the rest of the night goes. All right, friends, it is Monday afternoon, and I wanted to do the final thing I said I was gonna do in this video, which is talk to you about my reading journal. Now, I have never done a reading journal before. This is my first year, and I started it at the advice of my counselor, again, who I've referenced before in this video, but just as a outlet outside of work. For me, that was creative and challenging. This is challenging for me. I'm not someone that's ever considered myself an artist in like the physical art sense. I definitely consider myself to be creative, but not necessarily artistic with like a tangible skill like that. So for me, one of the things that I unfortunately deal with is I think that everything I do has to be perfect the first time I do it, or else it's not worth doing, which I know is not true. So this is kind of a way for me to be creative, do something that's hard for me, and watch myself slowly improve rather than be immediately good at it or not be good at it and then never do it again. So I'm gonna work on that, and then I will show you a flip through of my progress so far of my 2026 reading journal. But if you're interested, I am just using I think it's pronounced Lectrum journal, which is a journal brand that I've used for other types of journals before, so I just kind of went with that because it's what I know. And then the rest of the supplies I just got at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So It's pretty chill, but I'm gonna work on that and then I'll show you what I've been doing. Okay, I have kind of Jimmy rigged a POV shot of my 2026 reading journal. So I'm going to flip through this. Right here you see the title page. This is one of those pages that I'm not super in love with. I think I don't love how the numbers turned out, but I like the deer. I like the actual numbers. I just don't love the like placement of them. Then I have the classic bookshelf, except I don't read like a million books a year, so I think this is my 40 books that I want to read in 2026. And then I've left room up there, as you can see, for adding more books just in case I go over. And then I have my 6 books for 2026 TBR right there. Right here, I have my series tracker of every series that I'm in the middle of, or I have some of the books that I have yet to start. My priorities for this year, I think, are going to be Red Rising for sure. Maybe we'll finish Throne of Glass, who knows. Six of Crows, Ember in the Ashes, Beartown, and Magnolia Parks. This will end up being my monthly favorites page, so I'll just put my favorite book of the month over on this side. And then here I have some other goals for 2026, so obviously I have my read 40 books there at the top, but then I would also like to read 1 classic novel. I'd love to finish 5 series. I'd like to read 4 nonfiction books at least, and then overall I just want to read more literary fiction again. And then here I have a spread for the books that I will buy starting this year versus the books that I unhaul. And then I have a little DNF graveyard. You can see I kind of messed up on the font. This is a genre tracker, and you can see I filled in for Found Time and One for My Enemy. Same thing with my rating tracker right here, and then hopefully I'll have lots of 5-star reads this year, so I'll just write them down here. This will end up being my end of year stats at the end of the year that I get from Storygraph. And then this is my January kind of opening that you just saw me working on, my title page right here, and then my January TBR. I know this is a little empty, but I also feel like sometimes I need to leave stuff empty because I will overthink it and overdo it. So I just kind of wanted to leave it that, like a little open, a little chill. And then right here, I'm writing little reviews here just because I'm not going to read, 100+ books, to really fill out a reading journal. So I thought I would take up space by actually writing down reviews, which is also nice. And then I can write little notes like how this was my first arc, stuff like that. But yeah, that is where I'm at in my reading journal right now. So yeah, that is where I'm at on my reading journal. I'm actually pretty happy with it. I'm a little bit surprised by how it's turning out. I thought it would be much rougher, but I think what helped me, and this might help you out if you've been wanting to do a reading journal, but you're not much of an artist, you can't really draw, or you don't have good penmanship. I really heavily rely on scrapbook paper, stickers, these little things that I can glue in. They're not stickers, they're like little cutouts. And then washi tape. All of those help me fill up the pages and make my designs turn out good without heavily relying on me drawing. So that is a good tip. And then I'm just printing out my book covers at work because we have a color printer. So I'm also just kind of guessing on sizes. We'll see how that goes for the rest of the journal. But yeah, I am happy with it. And you can take this as your sign to try something that you don't think you'll be good at immediately, but do the work to get better and not just give up immediately. But that is it for today's video. Thank you for joining me along the ride. We were trying not to overthink, be casual, just film, and hopefully it turned out good and something that you want to watch. I also want to say thank you for all the support on my last couple of videos. My end of year wrap up has done decently well on views for me, someone with 70 subscribers. and so did my Portland vlog. And I'm not advertising these videos anywhere. I'm not putting it up on Instagram or anything like that, or promoting it even on YouTube. So all of you guys that are finding me and watching the videos, it's just happening organically. So I want to thank you for watching and supporting, liking, commenting. All of those things really help me out, and I will hopefully be back with another video soon. Maybe we'll actually get my husband to talk about The Hobbit, because somehow he managed to get out of that in this video. But next time, once he finishes it, we'll get his thoughts on that afterwards. I hope that the beginning of your year has been great and that you have some good direction going into this year about what you want to do. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.